Okay, this is an example of how to create a frequency distribution using the pivot table technique to do a cross tabulation for a single quantitative variable. First, we're going to highlight the data array along with the label. Next, click Insert, and we're going to use a pivot table. The array reference is in the table range. I'm going to put the worksheet, my table, in the existing worksheet. By clicking this arrow icon, you simply select the upper left-hand cell for your table. We'll start ours in D2, and then click OK. This opens up the pivot table fields data. We only have one field. We want to bring the data into the rows square, and you see it uses the sum of the values. We don't want the sum of the values. By clicking on the field, we can change the value field settings. We want the count. Instead of the sum of the fields. So this tells us the frequency of each data value. But we want to group these in some set of classes. To do that, we right-click on any one of the data values to get this drop-down menu, and we click on Group. Now it automatically fills in the values to let you know that it will start at 12 and end at 33. Those are kind of odd starting and ending points. You can change those. Typically, you'll change it to the value that is an even value, or at least a value ending in 5 or 10. So let's say we start at 10 and go to 35, since that will encompass all of our data values. And let's group these by 5. Click OK. So you can see that gives us 5 classes, and it sums the frequencies by those 5 classes. Now, you can work with this data as it is. What I often do for the sake of simplicity is to copy the data and move it outside of the pivot table itself, because sometimes the references for the pivot table become a bit cumbersome. So with this, we could do the relative frequencies. By using the summation formula, we can take the total of all the values, and for each frequency then, we can divide by the total. I can then copy these cells, and that gives us the ratio of the total of each one of these frequencies. Any number of ways we could convert that to a percent. Your textbook tends to want you to multiply that by 100. In order to convert each one of those ratios to 100.